So I wanted to talk about this Holm Ronda Rousey thing. By now, you guys, unless you've been sleeping under a rock or something, you know that Holm scored the second round knockout of Ronda Rousey in their UFC 193 pay-per-view last Saturday. And, look, full disclosure, I'm a boxing fan. You guys know that. I'm not an MMA guy. I don't watch it. But I felt compelled to talk because, well, number one, those of you who follow me, you know that I've done a couple of videos about Ronda Rousey and my disapproval with her winning that ESPY award earlier this year. She won Fighter of the Year by ESPN, and I had some things to say about that. I made some videos about it. I took a lot of heat, and basically the premise of that, my video, was that she didn't deserve that award and that she was a bit of a hype job and she hadn't proved herself yet. So when we saw what happened Saturday, my videos became relevant again. And but more than that, because Holly Holm was a boxer for 11 years and she won titles and everything in boxing before she went over to UFC. And because this wasn't just like a freak stoppage or something like that, she thoroughly dominated and even, dare I say, outclassed Ronda Rousey in this fight. And she set it up with punches. Everyone keeps showing the GIF on social media of that kick that finished Rousey. But what they don't show is right before that, it was a big, big punch that really, really is what put Rousey out. Turned her back. She was falling down and she tried to recover it. Bam, the kick was right there. But because Holly Holm set it up with punches, and she set those punches up with superior footwork, and that's something that boxing fans see, because the first thing you learn in boxing is that it's 90% lower body and core. It's 10% hands, right? A lot of boxing fans went nuts on social media. And some of it was okay, but a lot of it was just bad. And a lot of it was classless and tactless and just makes us look bad. And I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to talk about all of it. Look, normally my videos are very structured and layered and there's different categories and, I apologize. This isn't going to be the most organized video, okay? I'm just basically sitting down here and I just got home from the gym and I just feel like I need to get some things out. Guys, and I'm talking to boxing fans right now, we need to clean up our own damn house before we start throwing stones at our neighbor's house. Our neighbor being MMA or UFC. So, real quickly, just some background for some of you who may not have seen my videos before about Ronda Rousey. I actually made two, part one and part two. I think they were titled Ronda Rousey's ESPY Award is a Joke, something like that. Look it up on my channel. But my position, and it still hasn't changed, is that Ronda Rousey didn't deserve those awards. She hasn't deserved a lot of the things, the accolades, the hype she's received. And my position was that a lot of it had to do with political agendas, demographics, things like that. ESPN really isn't as much a sports network anymore, as much as it is a political agenda pushing PC machine. And with all the trouble they've had with the NFL, the domestic violence issues and stuff like that, they're kind of in damage control mode. And this was a big feminist agenda push to flick the patriarchy in the nuts. And I think that had a big deal to do why Rousey won that award, because it was basically against her and Mayweather, right? Floyd Mayweather is the face of boxing to the mainstream. Maybe not to diehard fans, but in the mainstream media, in casual sports fans, and to MMA fans. Floyd is the face of boxing. So it was this Rousey versus Floyd thing. And when I made my videos expressing my viewpoints about the UFC, and it's not just Rousey that's been hyped up, right? You can go back to guys like Kimbo Slice, Brock Lesnar was another one. Forrest Griffin comes to mind. Even guys like Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell. I could just keep naming these guys that were kind of overhyped and built up to be the baddest man on the planet, right? And all this. And with Rousey, there were people saying, like actual respected journalists in the media saying that she was the most dominant fighter since Mike Tyson. That she would toss around Floyd Mayweather like a rag doll. That's a quote. She would toss Floyd Mayweather around like a rag doll. But look, those of you who follow my channel, who have read my articles over the years and seen my work on different channels and on radio shows and everything else, you know I've been very critical of Floyd Mayweather. And I didn't think he deserved the SB Fighter of the Year award. I don't think he's deserved it all the years he's won it. Well, not all of them, but the last few years he's won it. He didn't deserve the damn award. There's been other fighters who deserved it. But it turned into this whole Floyd versus Ronda Rousey thing, right? Which is really stupid. And the fact that some people even talked about the two of them fighting, I hope we can put all that to bed now. But as upset as I am with some of the boxing fans tweeting some just vicious shit about Ronda Rousey and suddenly, making this out to be a boxing won thing, boxing won and MMA lost thing, as disappointing as that is, what's really pissing me off is some of the shit I'm seeing from Floyd Mayweather fans who I've been critical of for years and who really don't like me for a lot of different reasons. Some of them I can't control. The same reasons you don't like Rousey. Look, I've seen memes of Ronda Rousey laying on her back and Manny Pacquiao laying on top of her. I've seen memes of pictures of Floyd Mayweather just laughing and pointing and it says 49-0, ha ha ha, Ronda, shit like that. I've even seen memes of Holly Holm dressed in TMT gear, the money team gear. Y'all didn't give a flying fuck about Holly Holm a week ago. Normally, you wouldn't like Holly Holm because she don't look the way you like your fighters to look. Let's be real. You like her now, she's your house cracker because she knocked out Ronda Rousey. Okay? Quit acting like you gave a damn. Now, full disclosure, I didn't give a damn because I don't watch MMA. And I knew of Holly Holm when she boxed. I'm not saying I watched all of her fights. I've seen some of her fights. But that was years ago. That was like 5-6 years ago, I think I remember seeing fights. She fought, look, I'm from Detroit. She fought, I believe, at the Palace in Auburn Hills before and stuff like that. So, I mean, I was familiar with her, but it's not like I was a big fan. But generally speaking, from my experience, what I remember is when boxers make a transition over to MMA, it's completely shot the shit, desperate for money, 40-something-year-old fat asses like James Toney and Ray Mercer and these guys. That's who goes over into MMA because they can't get licensed in boxing. And most states won't even license them, right? And, I didn't think Holly Holm was, I knew she wasn't in her 40s. I knew she wasn't a fat ass, but I figured she must be kind of shot. And that's why she went over to MMA. I'll admit it, full disclosure, I haven't seen one of Holly Holm's MMA fights. So when they announced this big fight with Rousey and Holm, I figured it was going to be a much older, faded fighter against a very, very young, prime fighter. And it would probably end up like a lot of other Rousey fights. I didn't even bother to do research or watch the damn fight. And that's my fucking ignorance. I'll admit it. Ain't the first time I was wrong about something, sure as hell won't be the last. But I was the guy who several months ago called this shit out and said Ronda Rousey doesn't deserve these accolades. She hasn't proven herself yet, and she's getting way too overhyped. And if she fights Cyborg, she's going to get exposed. I thought it'd be Cyborg because she's still in her physical prime. I didn't realize Holly Holm is still in her physical prime, even though she's in her mid-30s. She's a really, really good athlete. And I have to admit, I disrespected her by not acknowledging that, and I should have. But All you guys that are suddenly tweeting, oh, I told you, I told you. Where were you months ago? Where were you years ago? You weren't tweeting this shit. Now you're tweeting. It's funny how that works. For the MMA fans, I don't feel the need to apologize on behalf of some of the boxing fans doing this shit. I just want you to understand that there is a feeling among diehard boxing fans that boxing is misunderstood, that boxing is disrespected, that boxing is kind of the redheaded stepchild, and a lot of it is boxing's fault. You can hate boxing politics, you can hate the people that run the sport, but don't hate boxers. And I think that's why there was this kind of like gut reaction, this visceral reaction among boxing fans when Holly Holm won. And I have to admit it myself that I felt this urge to start tweeting and being like, see, I told y'all. And I had to kind of catch myself. And I actually did send out a few tweets, and then I kind of felt stupid about it. And boxing fans, I want you to understand that I feel your sentiment. Boxing does get disrespected. Fighters, our athletes go through so much. They sacrifice so much. And so much of it is just unknown. And because of the way the UFC is structured and hyped, on the surface, it looks like this thing, and knowledgeable fans just don't know what's under that surface, okay? There's been several recent studies in the United States and in Canada that have come out that, have said things like, big surprise, boxing is more dangerous than MMA. Boxing is more dangerous than American football. It's 3 times the amount of concussions, blah, blah, blah. And in fact, I'm going to do a video on this coming up. And I'm like, no shit! Where have you been, mainstream media? Where have you been, Congress? You're spending all this money and all this looking into concussions in American football, and that's great. You should. But what about boxing? The shit that boxers have gone through for decades dwarfs what football players go through. And look, the guys in MMA, they might get a broken arm and it looks gruesome. They might break a shin. It looks nasty. They might get cut from the gloves that are basically designed to cut skin. Ratings, pyrotechnics, rock music, yelling announcers like I'm doing right now. It makes it look like this big bad fucking thing. But your broken arm heals. Your cut face heals. They're not taking the neurological damage that boxers take. And any of my fellow boxing lifers out there, anyone who's been in gyms, whether you've boxed amateurs, whether you've just gone to gyms and worked out, whatever it is, you've been at gyms and you've seen guys in their 40s and their 50s that have slow motor skills, that have impaired speech, right? And they weren't even these big, long pro fighters. They're basically just guys who sparred. Maybe they served as sparring partners. They never had a big crushing knockout loss or whatever. It's just the punishment. Dare I say the sparring boxers take is harder than the fight some of these MMA guys have, than the game the NFL players play. There's no pads or helmets. I could rant about this shit forever. And as you can see, I'm passionate about it. And that's why I do take it personal when I don't see boxers getting as much love as they should from the mainstream media. The sports media should know better. They should. They should know that Ronda Rousey's not the best fighter on the planet. They should not compare Holly Holm winning by upset over Rousey. They shouldn't compare that to Douglas Tyson. It's not on the same stratosphere because Mike Tyson wasn't a hype job. He was legit. I still maintain that boxing is the deeper talent pool because it's a global sport. It is Second, maybe to soccer, the most globalized, most globally represented sport on earth, at least contact sports, okay? We could talk tennis and swimming and stuff like that. I'm talking contact sports, individual contact sports. It's boxing. It is a deeper talent pool. There's just more athletes. There's more history. And that makes the talent pool deeper. And that's why I tend to believe that, great, Ronda Rousey was destroying all these MMA fighters. But as soon as she stepped up against a world-class athlete that wasn't intimidated, she was going to get exposed. Again, I figured that would be Cyborg. But I'll tell you, I saw footage of that weigh-in between Holm and Rousey, and the fight was over right there. Had I seen that Friday, I would have put money down. Rousey tried to intimidate Holm. Holm wasn't shook. Holm was a boxer for 11 years. She has sparred hundreds of rounds with numerous fighters that would fuck Rousey up. She was not scared. And the fight was over at that weigh-in. Right there. But, guys, boxing fans, let's show some humility. Let's stop being so damn insecure. It's okay to defend our sport. It's okay to stick up for our athletes. It's okay if we want to correct somebody when they say something ignorant and stupid about boxing or boxers that just isn't true. It's okay for us to want to get more exposure out there and more light shed on the health problems that boxers go through, and to maybe fight for a national commission or a government commission or a boxers union, something to protect these guys. The one thing I could say boxing does right that you MMA guys need to check yourself on is at least our fighters get paid. Do you know the purse Ronda Rousey got and Holly Holm? They got $100,000. Holly Holm got a $100,000 bonus because she won the fight. How much money did Dana White and the UFC take in that pay-per-view? Had to be tens of millions of dollars. They paid $100,000 to the main event. Now, I've done some research on the largest MMA purses in history. To my knowledge, there has not been $1 million purse yet. Guys, that's ridiculous. So, as much shit as boxers are going through, you need to look into your own shit because Dana White is raping your athletes. I could do a whole video about that. Boxing has a ton of problems we got to look at, but at least our guys get paid. So look, in closing, I just wanted to say, guys, we have to clean up our own house, as I said before we throw stones at somebody else's house. And all you Floyd Mayweather fans posting memes of Manny Pacquiao and Ronda Rousey, just remember, Floyd Mayweather didn't knock out Manny Pacquiao. Juan Manuel Marquez did. And when Floyd finally fought Manny Pacquiao, there's a lot of evidence, growing evidence, there's a lot more to come to suggest that fight was not fought on even terms. It was a welterweight versus a lightweight in there. Maybe a junior middleweight against a lightweight in there. And he charged $100. And he stunk up the joint. Pacquiao too. Pacquiao laid an egg in that fight, and it was a horrible performance from him. But let's not get it twisted, guys. The face of our sport laid an egg, and that Mayweather-Pacquiao pay-per-view hurt our sport. It's going to have some effects over the next 12 to 18 months in other pay-per-view sales. Here's another thing. There's a fight this Saturday. Cotto Canelo. Miguel Cotto, first ballot Hall of Famer. One of the best Puerto Rican fighters ever. Canelo, possibly the new face of the sport now that Mayweather's retired. And you're not talking about that. You're tweeting about Holly Holm. You're tweeting memes of Ronda Rousey concussed and knocked out on the ground, unconscious. Why don't you tweet about the fight coming up Why don't you promote the Cotto Canelo fight and quit posting ignorant shit? And before you say, well, Montero, you're doing a video about Rousey too. Which video did I release first? Check my channel. I did a Cotto Canelo preview this past weekend. Yeah. All right, I'm done.